own a home or have plans to in the future? Or are you upside down in your mortgage and need help? Tune in right now to the Call Tony Real Estate Radio Show with Tony Patillo and her co-host Carla Dennis. This is where you come to learn about buying real estate. Here's Tony.
Hello, Los Angelinos. I'm your host, Tony Patillo, and you're listening to Call Tony Real Estate Radio here on KEIB AM 1150, The Patriot.
Well, I'm really excited to find out what's your word today.
We're going to talk about value, and I really want to talk about understanding your home's market value. There's so many misconceptions as to how people come up with the value of their property. And I'll tell you, there's a real simple analogy, and this is just really straightforward, but your home is worth what a buyer is willing to spend at this moment. That's literally what your home is worth. It's worth what a buyer is willing to spend at this moment. You know, when you're getting loans, you do have to factor in, comps, and you do have to factor in square footage and bedroom count and those types of things. But really, at the end of the day, a buyer dictates what the value of the property is.
Right.
And I've seen people who have acquired a home and they didn't care what the appraised value is. Okay. I have a deal going right now on a commercial building. It's a 5-unit apartment building, and it's listed. It was listed originally at $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
But the rents, and if you know anything about commercial real estate, the value the value is dictated by the rent roll, right? So the rents on this building were all very low. And according to the rents, the value of this property is $1.2 million.
Wow.
However, because of its location and because of the upside potential with the rents being able to go up on an annual basis and the inherent built-in value that's there, if you add laundry or if you're charging for parking, there's other upsides to the investment. So my buyer was willing to spend more than what it was appraising for because of its location and because of the future prospective value. So in that regard, you don't have an appraisal contingency,
right?
Because it's not going to appraise. However, you're willing to put the additional cash up for whatever that shortage is. All these different ways of looking at value. And the tax assessors, if you think about it, the tax assessment is a number used by the local government, usually the county or the parish, to establish the homeowner's property tax liability. The assessed value is actually multiplied by the tax levy rate to determine the annual property tax bill to the homeowner. So since the tax rate or levy is usually determined by the voters, right? The easiest means for the local government to adjust the amount of aggregate taxes collected to pay for schools, to pay for roads, to pay for all these things is through the annual assessment. And in most areas, this is done by a very impersonal formula. So that has nothing to do. They don't see these properties.
Right.
They assess it based on these other, factors. They don't see the properties. They don't know if it has a pool. They don't know if it has breathtaking views. So all of that stuff is a distinctly different look at value than you would for tax purposes. Now, market value will command a rational purchaser under normal circumstances. I had a short sale last year. The seller was actually a realtor. She'd had her property on the market at $1.6 million for a year, and it wasn't going anywhere. And her husband were upside down. Well, they came to me because I specialize in distressed properties and in short sales, and they said, Tony, they told us we should probably talk to you. I think we're going to be short. So we started the short sale process and, of course, got an approval for $1,289,000 as a short sale. There was a buyer who had seen the property in that year that she had it listed at the $1.6 million, who had gotten frustrated with the market. They couldn't find what they were looking for, and they kept getting beat out by multiples. As you remember, last year in mid-year, we had nothing but multiples over the asking.
Right.
Well, these buyers came back frustrated, but they wanted to be in that school district. They wanted to be in that neighborhood. They said, we'll pay $1.6 million for this property. And we were right in the middle of the short sale. And I said, I'm not going to cancel the short sale unless you remove all your contingencies. If you're going to get this finance, it's got to appraise at the $1.6 million. You've got to get your inspections done, and it's got to be clear so that you have no contingencies and you're clear to close. If you do that, then I'll cancel the short sale and you can get your property at $1.6 million. And by the way, the sellers would walk away with proceeds. We sure enough, they appraised at $1.6 million. They went through their inspections. They got completely clear. They were fine with everything. And they bought the home for $1.6 million. And there again, appraisals, on one hand, the bank appraised it at $1.289 million as a short. And then they turned around and got their own appraisal, and it was back to $1.6 million. So again, it's based on opinion.
Right.
And it's based on what a buyer is willing to spend.
Right. Their perception of value.
Yeah. So that, we can go on about this whole value thing forever, but I just wanted to touch on it because I think with our guest today, we're going to also tap into another aspect of looking at the values of your home and how important it is.
Right.